Attention seekers, attention seekers, attention seekers. What would this world ever do without them? So, a certain musical group has come out to announce that they too are going to take a stand, a very principled stance, and they are making it clear to the world they don't stand with racism. Now, this name change is supposed to be inspired by what we're seeing taking place in the world around us today, with the protests, the tragedies. And so this stance is supposed to be a good message, right? Something real wholesome, that we are going to finally make a change for the better. And of course, what I'm referring to are the oh so popular, top of the charts country pop band, the Dixie Chicks. Oh, pardon me. I can't say that anymore. They changed their name. They're no longer the Dixie Chicks. They are the Chicks. Wow. That screams country music to the world, right? The Dixie Chick, no, just the Chicks. So now you actually do sound like more of a teenage girl club pop band and not any kind of a country band, which arguably you weren't exactly that much of a country band in the first place. What is all of this coming from? Well, the demonization of the word Dixie to describe the South, okay? Coming from the whole Mason-Dixon line around the Civil War era, and again, this is just complete demonization of anything in Southern culture because of a bad point in time in this country's history where the South had a position of slavery, as if the term Dixie is only referring to a slavery type past in the South. No, that's not at all what it refers to. Dixie refers to as a South as a whole, and I got news for you. It was still referred to as Dixie, okay, after the Civil War. Now, the song Dixie, completely different. When was it written? During the Civil War. So the song Dixie is one thing. However, Dixie to Southerners has carried on well past then. And it doesn't represent racism, the Ku Klux Klan, or slavery. Yes, it was also used for the Democratic branch that broke off from the Democrats that called themselves the Dixiecrats because they were the Southern Democrats. But to many people, the term Dixie simply means the South and all of the things that are in the South. And if you think the only thing in the South is just a bunch of racism, no, that is simply not true. There's a lot of things that we do in the South that we enjoy. You know, making moonshine, a big part of the Southern culture for a long time. You know, the old mountains of Appalachia, it's been a custom there. That's part of the South. People would say Dixie, okay? Our infamous good old barbecue, okay? People will look at that as a culture of Dixie. There's a lot of different things that take place in the South today. So as far as the demonization of the word Dixie is concerned, that it just means nothing but racism, no, I don't agree with that as someone who lives in the South. So I can speak kind of well to that narrative. Is there possibly some conflicting things with where it's been referenced in the past? Yes. Did it come from a time period that a lot of people frown upon? Yes. But is that what it means today? No. Now I know the first thing that some people are going to immediately reference is going to be the immediate comparison to the Confederate flag. Well, you people say that's about heritage and not hate, so you could just change it. It's the same thing with this. It came from a bad time period. It must mean the same thing. If that's your stance, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, you don't have to agree with what I'm saying. This is just the perspective of someone who lives in this area and has lived in this area his entire life, okay, and understand the people in this area and how they look at a term like Dixie. Furthermore, I will throw this up as far as country music is concerned. This guy right over here, Johnny Cash, country music legend, one of the best, one of my favorite in country music, without doubt. I mean, clearly, he's on my wall, right? Okay. Loved him ever since I was a little kid. That being said, listen to the song Hey Porter, if you care to, by Johnny Cash. If you don't want to listen to it, look up the lyrics. He uses the word Dixie throughout the song. Are you going to tell me that Johnny Cash was a racist because he used the word Dixie all throughout the song? Because if you are, well, I've got some news for you. Turns out Johnny Cash was certainly not a racist. And some of his songs were ahead of their time and actually telling the story for people of color and especially indigenous people. The guy wrote or was famous for performing a song, the Ballad of Ira Hayes. Ira Hayes was a Native American who went to war in World War II, served in the Battle of Iwo Jima, one of the most bloodiest battles in modern history, okay? It was nothing but an absolute hand-to-hand combat bloodbath. 150 men fought in that battle. And if I'm not mistaken, only 27 lived. If I'm not mistaken, he gives it in the song. But just going strictly off of memory there, I believe it was about 27 men, 27 or 47, I believe, lived. Ira Hayes was one of them, right? He returned home after World War II, and as he says in the song, Ira Hayes returned a hero, celebrated through the land. He was wined and speeched and honored, and everybody shook his hand. But he was just a Pima Indian. No water, no home, no chance. At home, nobody actually cared what Ira done and went to the Indians' dance. So in other words, this guy went to war, served honorably, okay? Fought in one of the bloodiest battles in American history, and then wound up coming back to his homeland and wound up dying in a ditch drunk. That's a terrible story. This guy went out of his way to get that message out there and explain just how shitty a Native American who went and fought and served this country was cheated when he came home. So if he's nothing but a racist pig, using that term Dixie, why is he going out of his way to sing and promote content like that back in his day, man? Talking about a legend who would have been able to put out pretty much any song, and the country music base would have loved it. You gotta understand, Johnny Cash was not the average guy that just played a role. Johnny Cash had a lot of his own demons, and I think he related to a lot of people and tried to really get a message out there. For example, he had a big Christian audience too, right? A big Christian audience. And he was told that his Christian audience wouldn't want to pay money to hear him go to prisons and perform in prisons to a bunch of inmates. And his exact words were, well, if they're judgmental like that, then this might not be exact words, I'm paraphrasing, okay? But his words, summing him up, were, if they're that judgmental, then they're not really Christians. Boom. Hey, his audience is a Christian audience, right? And so his handlers and the people at the record company are saying, oh, no, John, what are you doing? You can't go perform in front of a bunch of convicts. Are you crazy? And he's like, if they're Christians, they'll be okay with it. If they got a problem with it and they're that judgmental, they're not real Christians. If they got a problem with me going to sing a gospel song in front of some inmates, they're not real Christians. Whatever. So, give him his credit. And I tell you right now, if you're going to try to say this guy was a racist, you really need to read up, because he was not a racist. Okay? And that's just all there is to it. So that being said, let's pivot back over to the Dixie Chicks here. Back to where we started from. So they're changing their name for solidarity, right? The Dixie Chicks, understand this. The Dixie Chicks have been around since 1989. 1989. This group came about, right? And of course, a lot of their big hits were like mid to late 90s and early 2000s. Now, I'm no fan of the Dixie Chicks. I don't really care for pop country. I like country. And to me, pop music combined with some country sounding accents and instruments doesn't exactly resonate with me. Okay? So I don't really have an appreciation for their version of country. But from what I'm familiar with, and from what I can recall, best of my memory, the Dixie Chicks haven't even been relevant in the last 10 years anyway. The last time I remember them even winning anything, award-wise, was like 2007. 2007. So 13 years after your last award, and you haven't really made the top 30, to my knowledge, within the last 10 years. I could be wrong on that, by the way. What I do know is that I haven't heard them among the most popular country songs. You keep hearing a lot of Luke Bryan and Kane Brown and all these folks today, but you don't hear Dixie Chicks. So in other words, they're not in the upper echelon of popular country music today. So in other words, as I said, they really haven't been all that relevant in the last 10 years or so anyway. So for about a decade, you've really been on a downward spiral and you've been kind of irrelevant. And now all of a sudden, you come out with this name change so you can stand in solidarity against racism. What a fucking coincidence. Really? You just, all of a sudden, God touched your heart, or whatever touched your heart, and just awoken you up to how offensive you've been for all these years. So I better do my part and change and be more politically correct. And it had nothing to do at all with the fact you haven't really been a popular act at the top of the charts in nearly a decade, right? No, you're doing this all for the right reasons. Of course you are. Of course you are. Without a doubt, attention seeking. Period. You're playing up to an audience. When's the last time you've been really mentioned in the pop culture world? When's the last time you were mentioned in a news article? Your numbers and your buy rates and your sales are going down. And so you do this because it looks good. It's smoke and mirrors, kabuki theater. And now they've got all these online news outlets and CNN talking about, we're so proud of you. You're doing such a right thing. Now, again, you might agree they did do the right thing. Nothing wrong. I mean, we can each have our opinion, right or wrong. I'm not here to debate whether it was the right thing to do. What I'm here to say is, why in the blue hell did it take you 30 years to do it? 30 years you've been around. Coming up on 31, because again, you formed in 89, right? So for 31 years, 31 years, you've been the Dixie Chicks. And there's been all kinds of stuff that have happened in this country. You didn't change during Trayvon Martin. You didn't change during the shooting with the, what was his name? Dylan Roof. You didn't change for any of that. And you weren't relevant really then either, but things really didn't pick up for you. And now, I think I know what it is. I think I know what it is. What is it? What is it about people who have to capitalize on some of the more troubling times in this country? You know what? I think they maybe their favorite NASCAR driver is Bubba Wallace. I think I might be drawing a connection here. Maybe their favorite television show was Empire. And maybe their favorite actor on the show was Juicy Smoulier. This is all coming together to me now. It's making more and more sense. People who either have bad acting skills, can't race, and aren't popular in the country music world anymore all have to pull a stunt to get their name out there so that they're being talked about, so that they do become popular again, because they're not going to get popular again based on their own skills. They're only going to be popular by pulling a massive stunt that makes news headlines. Damn, it all makes sense now. So, in other words, when you actually look into it all, this has not one damn thing to do, more than likely, with doing the right thing just because it's the right thing to do. In actuality, you're doing all this because you think it's going to get you some more fucking ticket sales to your next little concerts, so we can watch all of your asses saw around your fucking fiddles and pretend you're playing and singing country music. Sure. Again, you have been relevant in about 10 years, and this is what you're trying to do to make you relevant again. I'll say it again. We've got troubling times right here in this country. And all these fucking celebrities and athletes or whatever the fuck, okay, musicians, whatever, their job right now, since they have such a following, is to put the fucking country above their own interests and above their own pocketbook and above their own ego. They've got the following. They should be out there doing the right thing just because it's the right thing to do. And they shouldn't be doing any damn thing that's bullshit or is going to go out of their way to add to and create more problems or exacerbate problems we've already got. That is not what they need to be doing right now. And if that's what they want to do, because it's going to feather their own nest, pump their fucking bank account up a little bit, and make them feel like they're a popular person again, then I got news for you. You are a self-centered, egotistical piece of shit. And you don't give a damn about the country around you or the people suffering, because if you did, you'd be doing the things that would try to actually make a difference and matter, not taking Dixie out of your fucking name 31 years after you created that name. Wow. I guess better late than never though, right?